Hello, everybody. Do. It's going to be a pretty short stream today, I think. We're going to talk about what, but we're still doing these streams, even if they're going to be short, because I keep putting off doing really cool stream stuff because it might be short, and I realize, who cares? Who cares if it's going to be a short stream, if it's something I want to share? Who cares? Not me. So we're going to do it anyway. But as a result, you are getting more streams in a week because I'm streaming like 6 times next week on top of my full-time work. I'm aluminum, so my streams might be short, but they are mighty. They are mighty. Delicious. Okay, we should do what we're talking about today. It is Philippines mentioned. Yes, because we're going to be mentioning the Philippines. We're going to be mentioning them a lot. Hello, Daniel. I see you're keeping your streak alive. Keeping the streak alive. Seriously, cats? Menaces. Menaces to society. That's what them cats is. These menaces. We're going to be talking about some mythical beings. Some mythological beings again. So last time we did this would have been before Christmas. I'm so sorry. I'll never leave you for that long again, I swear. And we talked about the Capre and Acta. And we talked about them together because, give or take, they are the same thing. And we talked a little bit about how this is complicated in the Philippines because essentially the Philippines, as the Philippines, is, all countries are artificial, but like even more artificial than most. Basically, it was a whole different group of different ethnic groups, all doing their own thing. They're not even on the same landmass, a lot of them on separate islands to each other. Astral, could you stop them doing whatever he's doing? Thank you. They're all on separate islands to each other with, as we know, convergently evolving cultures. We know that cultures have evolved similar versions of a lot of folklores. Everyone has their own fairy, everyone has their own wood elves, everyone has etc. And of course the Philippines has more than one of them all because each different ethnic group would have had their own version. And even within ethnic groups, different regions might have been separated by a mountain, and things diverged, or people might have lived in a different area and they diverged, just the same as in any other culture, but just amplified to the max for the Philippines. And actually, we're kind of carrying that along for today. So there is a lot of Filipino folklore, mythology, culture stuff I want to do streams on. And as we said, I'm going to start going through some kind of like main mythological beings. Then I might do some side mythological beings. And then after that, I'll probably look at doing some other like folklore stuff, maybe some like more pantheonic god stuff. That stuff does exist here too. And might also look at some cultural stuff, so some traditions, etc. So we're going to be doing this stream series for like the rest of my life, I guess, while I learn about the Philippines, the Filipinos. But today we're going to continue on the kind of demon section. Okay, remember we said this means demons as in things that harass humans with like nightmares and misfortune or terrify them. So like standard demon behavior, but yeah, the ones we've looked at so far are giants, and we're actually going to look at another giant today. So remember we looked at Capre last time, and we looked at Acta, right? So if I take a little look at both of those, we were talking about how they are tree kind of spirits. They're forest spirits, not really tree spirits. Forest spirit type creatures, they're giants, and they shared an awful lot in common, including a serious smoking habit. Right? Yeah, that was a thing. Well, we're going to be doing that again today. We're going to be looking at Ani. Okay? And the first, honestly, this isn't going to be the last similar sounding one because we've got, I'm thinking that maybe next time I should do a whole genre of them together. I don't know. We'll have a think. I'll have a think. We're gonna look at Annie Annie. Okay. And this is basically very, very similar to Acta and Capre, but this has some extra elements. So that's why I kept it separate. But it is still very similar. We are still talking about a giant. We're still talking about things that connect to forests. And there's still the link to smoking. The Philippines have a lot of folklore that smokes, which we learned about last time. Feel free to go check that out if you're interested. But we're going to have a little read now. So ready? Resembling humans in appearance, but standing at least 18. Wait, hang on. Is my mic working properly? Yeah, it is. Okay, sorry. Resembling humans in appearance, but standing at least 18 feet tall, the Annie Annie comes out only during the new moon. Okay, so see how we're getting a little bit more extra with this one. It has the ability to transform itself physically to resemble a carabao. That's water buffalo, a horse, or a pig. It's usually found smoking while sitting on a branch of a large tree, and it likes blocking the path of nighttime travelers, much like the Capre and the Acta, right? Dark, rough-skinned, and hairy. Again, very similar to the Capre and the Acta. All of them, however, have a strong, distinctive goat smell. Okay? So we've got some divergence. So the key things that are extra here is the shape shifting into livestock. The smelling, kind of like livestock. I'm feeling like there may be some connection to like livestock involved here. That seems like the vibe. Hello, Yak. Thank you for hailing me. But they're still smoking, and they're still big old hairy men, basically. Big old hairy men who are smoking. Very, very, very similar to what we have seen before. What we have seen before. The difference is the region, okay? The difference is the region for the most part. But let's have a look. Oh, I would say that 18 feet tall is a little bit larger than most of the descriptions we read about Capre as well. So this is like a real, this is a giant boy, right? This is a big boy. Astra's a big old hairy man. Why you gotta be like that? Yeah, why you gotta be like that? what is the logic to being like that? Just give me 2 seconds, guys, because the webpage I had open has changed, and I just want to make sure I'm on the right thing. This is actually really annoying. Okay, it's fine. We're gonna run with it as is. Like, what more can we do? What more can we do? So, Bam! We're gonna go back to my favorite website. We're going to the Asmon project. This is where I'm learning everything. I mean, Astral is younger than me, so what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say? I'm feeling like you're a bit of a hater right now. What's the need for the hate? The Annie Annie stand 18 feet tall. I'm still trying to get over the 18 feet tall. What are you seeing in the Philippines that is looking 18 feet tall to you? A man may think he is standing between 2 trees. I think he was standing between 2 trees, and he had had 1 or 2 adult beverages, and then realized that he is between the lower legs of the Annie Annie. The creature lumbers along because of its great size. This is feeling more and more like a drunk person's imagination. I'm sorry. It is dark complexioned, hairy, and bearded. Its nose is flat and its mouth wide. It has rough skin. Who's getting close enough to it to feel its skin? Genuine question, Filipinos. Like, the beginning of that description did not read like, hey, come and touch this thing and see what it feels like. Like, what's going on in the brain of the Filipino mythological being hunter to think that giving it a little stroke is a good idea? They just love people that see animals. Probably some insane old person. Yeah, there's definitely been some adult beverages involved in this decision. I refuse to believe that anyone would have thought it was a good idea to just dive on in. Dive on in. It generally appears when there is a new moon. I thought that was really interesting, because we are going to come across some other lunar cycle animals, but this was the only one of like these giants that we're going to talk about that I could find that fitted to it. Actually, no, there's one other that fits to it that we'll learn about in a few weeks. It generally appears when there is a new moon and may be seen at night smoking on the branch of a large tree beside a country road such as the Bulala? That says Ilocos in brackets after it, which makes me scared that that comes from Ilocano, and I've already been told to not speak any Ilocano because pronunciation is like a big deal. The Ani blocks the path of the wayfarer at night. It changes its shape from that of a tall, dark man to that of a caribou without horns. Okay, but a caribou without horns is just a cow. Let's be real. No? The horns kind of make it identifiable. Am I missing something here? Or horse, okay. Or a hog and back into a tall, dark man again. This definitely feels like someone walking home late at night, nervous, mind's playing tricks on them, and they've seen some animals and their brains run with it, doesn't it? More so than the others. The others actually felt more confusing, because the others had like things that didn't feel super explainable. This feels like very, very explainable. Which is not a criticism of the Philippines perennial starts. This is what I find interesting about folklore, is trying to work out what folklore was trying to explain. What phenomenon is the folklore trying to explain to people? Because that's all folklore was doing. Was explaining phenomenon. Okay, interesting. Okay, let's have a little look what else we've got. Okay, so we've got some more in-depth knowledge now. Okay, so what sets the Ani apart from other mythical being is its peculiar. Oh, all these links will go on the stream, by the way, on the VOD. Other mythical beings is its peculiar range of abilities that seem more psychological than physical. The most prominent of these is its shape-shifting skill. Yes, it can take the form of domestic animals. This power aligns it with shape-shifting creatures like the Aswan, but with one significant difference. It is not known to feast on human blood. Interesting. Instead, it prefers to disrupt rather than destroy. Okay, so it behaves like a capre, but has the skill set of an Aswang. Okay. It is said to block roads at night, appearing suddenly to confuse, terrify, or mislead travelers. In this way, Ani functions more like a trickster than a predator. Its eerie cigar smoke and foul scent. This is definitely some guy who was trying to have a cheeky smoke without his wife knowing, and someone saw an animal, smelt the smoke, and they made some conclusions. Paranormal clues that something's not right. Cigar smoke is not paranormal. I'm sorry, the cigar smoke one just fascinates me, because I can think of so many reasons people would be hiding smoking, even in the modern or historical world. Although intimidating, it does not typically harm unless provoked. Who is provoking an 18-foot tall, big fat hair man? What? This makes Ani less of a monster and more of a guardian of threshold, an embodiment of nature's unsettling unpredictability. Despite its obscurity in mainstream narratives, Ani has slowly found new life in the digital age. Independent artists, comic book writers, and folklore enthusiasts have begun to rediscover and reimagine this enigmatic giant. We saw that last time, right? That a lot of these creatures are being like reimagined by comic book artists here now, which is really cool, I think. Annie Annie occasionally appears as a silent observer, adding atmospheric depth to tales that explore mythological Manila. Digital artists on platforms such as DeviantArt and ArtStation often depict Annie Annie as a brooding forest spirit, its silhouette draped in shadows, eyes glowing faintly through leaves and fog. Filipino folklore blogs and websites have also started to include Annie Annie in curated lists of underappreciated mythological beings. It was really hard to find any information on Annie Annie. I feel like I am barely going to get enough even for a short stream out of what I could find. But with some other mythological beings, there's like whole movies about them, you know? There's like, I could do 2 streams. Celebrating its unique blend of menace and restraint. Annie Annie's resurgence isn't confined to artistic circles. Cultural festivals, university lectures, and even a podcast series focusing on regional myths have begun to acknowledge its role in shaping communal fears and traditions. In classrooms and community gatherings, where elders share oral histories, the story continues to haunt the imagination. Passed down not with reverence, but with caution. So basically, manufactured fear isn't new. It's just it used to serve a purpose, and now it's just manufactured fear. And in case you were wondering how artists imagine them, this is the guy. Oh, he's blurry, isn't he? What? I broke it. Oh, because I zoomed in. Don't upload such small images to your site, my guys. But yeah, that's just a hairy dude. There's not really any getting around that. Okay. Let's have a little look at the sources. The Annie Annie is a huge creature with a strong goat smell that can change its form into animals. Large flat nose and thick lips, sports a beard, hairy and rough, fingers holds a cigar, 18 feet with legs like large wooden posts. Due to its huge frame, it's slow, but it's strong and can carry heavy items. Wow. Oh, it can even be a large cat. Remy. Remy is a large cat. Does Remy smell like goat? That's what we need to verify. Does Remy smell like goat? What? Is this a game? That's a terrible use of link. Okay. That doesn't exist anymore. And I read that. Okay. Cool. Okay. What about this? Ones that even Filipinos might not. What do they say? A fusion of Aswang and Capre. Mysterious night creature is relatively unknown. According to legends, it's a humanoid, 18 feet tall, that makes a strong goat-like smell. The goat-like smell is clearly very important. Just like the Aswang, Annie Annie also possesses the power of shape-shifting. The thing that sets it apart from Aswang is diet. They don't suck blood. Instead, they are mostly known to block the path of walking travellers and usually seen smoking while sitting on a large tree branch. Characteristics that are reminiscent of the traditional Capra. So it's basically just a scary Capra. Okay. Because you got to, sometimes you just got to be scarier, right? Sometimes you've just got to scare people with it. Okay. What I did want to show you though is we're talking about how this is like the Capra, and I talked about like all the migration that things do and stuff. I'm hoping that this video, let me get it working right. I'm hoping that this video will help you guys see what I mean about the overlap, I guess, in folklore Let me just resize it so you can actually see it, because that's quite a fundamental part of watching a video, is being able to actually see it. There we go. All right, let's see. This is, oh no, in a moment I'm going to talk about it. First of all, just how connected they are. I found this video and it amuses me greatly, so we're going to do it. I'm sorry. You what now? What do you mean no sound? Oh, no sound. That's really annoying. Hang on. There you go.
Aswang is one of the most terrifying creatures in Filipino folklore. By day, it looks like an ordinary person, but at night, it transforms into a winged monster that preys on humans. It's known for targeting buntis, or pregnant women, using a long, thin tongue to suck out the fetus while they sleep. Many stories from Capiz and the Visayas keep this creature alive in people's imaginations and their nightmares. Capre. Capre is a giant who lives in trees, especially old balete trees. He's hairy, dark-skinned, and always smoking a huge cigar. He isn't always violent, but if you disrespect his tree, he might curse you or make you lose your way. Maligaw kahit alam mo na yung daan. Some say if you leave him gifts like tobacco or coins, he'll protect your home instead. Manananggal. Manananggal is a fearsome monster that detaches its upper body and grows wings at night. It flies through the sky, hunting for hearts and unborn babies. Buntis, beware. She uses her sharp tongue to pierce through rooftops. To kill her, you have to find her hidden lower body and sprinkle it with asin or salt or even bawang or garlic before sunrise. Tikbalang. Tikbalang has the head of a horse and the body of a tall man. He guards forest paths and loves to mess with travelers, making them walk in circles. Some say you can tame him if you pull out 3 golden hairs from his mane. But to be safe, many still say tabi-tabi po when entering a forest just in case he's watching. Tiyanak. Tiyanak looks and sounds like a crying baby, but when you approach to help, it transforms into a tiny demon with sharp teeth and claws. In some stories, they're spirits of aborted or abandoned children, filled with rage. They lure people deep into the woods and attack when you least expect it. Moral lesson: if you hear a baby crying in the middle of the gubat or forest, think twice. Diwata. Diwata are graceful spirits of nature, often linked to rivers, trees, and mountains. They're beautiful and kind unless you damage their home, cut down their sacred tree, or pollute their river, and they might curse you with illness or misfortune. That's why elders always say tabi-tabi po when passing by places where a diwata might live. Sirena. Sirena is the mythical mermaid of the Philippine seas, with the upper body of a woman and the tail of a fish. She sings haunting melodies that lure sailors to their doom. Some say she falls in love with humans, while others claim she enjoys dragging them underwater. Either way, if you hear something under the sea, better not look back. Nuno. Nuno is a short elderly spirit who lives in small earth mounds or punso. If you accidentally step on his home, he might curse you with fever, swelling, or worse. He's not evil, just easily offended. That's why people say tabi-tabi po when walking near grass or unfamiliar ground. Better safe than sorry. Duende. Duende are small goblin-like beings who live underground or in old houses. They can be good or mischievous, depending on how you treat them. White duendes bring you luck, while black ones cause you accidents or steal small items just for fun. They love sweet treats and tiny offerings and may even reward you if you treat them with respect. White Lady. The White Lady is the ghost of a woman who died with deep pain, usually betrayal. She wears a long white dress and appears near roads, trees, or bridges, especially at night. Some drivers say she appears in their rearview mirror before the crash. Others say she just stares as you pass. Either way, if the road is dark, don't look too closely.
Okay. So this is the juiciness we've got to look forward to. It is. It is the juiciness. Um, there's not really much else to say about the Annie Annies. I tried to say this would be a really short stream. Before we finish, though, I did just want to kind of float for you guys. Would you prefer that I keep doing everything separate, even if that means some streams for this will be quite long and some would be quite short? Or how would you guys feel about me combining stuff together that's linked? So, like, you know, I did Agta and Capre. I could have also done Annie Annie and a couple of others with it. And maybe I could do similar with some of the, like, Aswang kind of related ones, and just bringing them together and making them into a longer stream. Or even if they're unrelated, just kind of, because they're all related through mythology. Would that be something people think would work a little bit better? And then I can make sure I've got nice, consistently paced streams. If I get no answer, I'm probably going to do that going forward, because I had not realised just how short this stream was going to be. I knew it was going to be shorter, but I hadn't realised just how crazy short it would be. Linking the creatures together, we good? Okay, so this will be the last time we have a super mega short stream like this then, guys, because next time I will do it as a big stream. But before we finish, I did just want to talk about how interrelated everything is, because it's not just linking similar creatures, it's also the fact that, as I said, different regions will have variants, not necessarily at the same time. They might have had both. So there might be regions that have a capre and they have another animal like the capre because of the way things have evolved over time. And as usual, the Aswan Project have my back with explaining this to you guys. They've got me sorted. So let's take a little look-see at why.
So today I'm going to explain why Philippine mythology is so confusing and hopefully clear up a couple misconceptions and common mistakes I see people make. Let's get started. Humans appeared in Africa about 200,000 years ago and migrated to Southeast Asia approximately 50,000 years ago. There were many migration routes from Africa to Southeast Asia, and along the way, the Homo sapiens interbred with other species like Neanderthals, Denisovans, and Homo erectus. It is theorized the first inhabitants to arrive in the Philippine area were the Negrito, who may represent an early split-off from the first Africans who migrated along the southern coastal route. They brought with them basic forms of animism, where everything is animated by a spirit. Austronesians arrived around 5,000 years ago, migrating from Taiwan through the Philippines, and over the next 3,500 years reached as far as Easter Island and Madagascar. This migration brought with them more complex animist beliefs in shamanism, ancestor worship, totemism, tattooing, and benevolent and malevolent spirits. The next significant influence came from Hinduism, which began around 3000 BCE and spread through trade, reaching Southeast Asia around 200 BCE. Trade routes and the continuing migration cycles of the Austronesian expansion brought Indianized influences to the Philippine area. It introduced epics, folk stories, and started evolving the existing animist beliefs into more complex polytheistic religions. But the most enduring legacy was the introduction to the concept of demons. In Hinduism, they are called Rakshasa. These demons were most often depicted as ugly, fierce-looking, enormous creatures with two fangs protruding from the top of their mouth and having sharp, claw-like fingers. They are shown as being mean, insatiable cannibals that could smell the scent of human flesh. Generally, they could fly, vanish, and had magical powers of illusion, which enabled them to change size at will and assume the form of any creature. This is why the Indianized areas have common mythical malevolent beings and spirits, while other areas don't. The single biggest mistake made by people who research Philippine mythology is the assumption that the Spanish introduced the concept of demons. We will get to the cultural damage that the Spanish caused in a moment, but they did not introduce demons to the Philippines. Unless, of course, you are also blaming the Spanish for the malevolent demonic spirits and creatures in areas they never colonized, like Japan, China, Cambodia, Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia. One thing these areas share, besides malevolent creatures, is that their animist beliefs and subsequent religions were greatly influenced by Hinduism. These creatures are a regional phenomenon, not a Spanish invention. That said, in the Philippines, Hinduism did not replace animist beliefs but were absorbed into it. It was also in these regions where we saw the introduction of gender-variant deities and priests. The concept of deities and demons appearing in human and animal form also became very prevalent. Next, the areas of the Philippines actively involved in Chinese trade are worth mentioning for one reason. Chinese mythology and folklore is famous for its ghosts and the influences those stories had on Southeast Asia. This is why the Sinified areas of the Philippines have visually different appearances for common creatures as well as stronger belief in ghosts. Islamic traders arrived in the southern Philippines sometime in the late 13th century. At the time, the inhabitants who lived there were in small autonomous communities, and unlike the Visayan and Tagalog region, hadn't evolved their beliefs to include multiple communities, so the indigenous populations were quickly converted to Islam. When the Spanish arrived, they found some of the inhabitants were receptive to Christianity, but many required it to be imposed by brutally removing shamans from power, burning idols, and creating harsh public notices and punishments for anyone who didn't conform. They effectively replaced the polytheistic deities with a monotheistic one. On top of this, biblical stories and ideals were incorporated into creation and origin myths as well as existing folklore. As Catholicism became the dominant religion in the region, to the frustration of the Spanish, none of their teachings could address the inherent animist beliefs in malevolent beings and spirits. This frustration appears countless times in the Spanish documents. What the Spanish were able to do is change the thinking about the historical cultural identity of the people. If the Spanish had any influence on myth and folklore, it was teaching people that they were stupid for believing in these things. This thinking was enforced by the education system set up by the Americans and the continuing rush to westernize the Philippines, forgetting that these mythical beings actually served a very important social function, and in many areas, they still do. I often get asked why there are so many different deities and creatures in Philippine mythology, and the answer is that there really aren't. If we break the Philippines into ethnic regions, knowing the influences, it becomes much easier to map. Philippine mythology is a confusing term because there is very little outside the Austronesian expansion that you can apply to the entire Philippines. Each region had their own language, environmental influences, and societal needs, so it really needs to be looked at region by region. The biggest misunderstandings happen when specific aspects are dismissed or applied throughout Philippine mythology. Thanks for watching, guys. If you want to learn more about Philippine mythology and folklore, subscribe to our channel and check out our blog.
Hey Nave, yeah, Philippines heavily mentioned. That's what's happening. But yeah, that there, guys, is why that I think going forward we're not going to do a mythological creature per stream. It doesn't make sense. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break down into some categories. We're going to focus on a category, look into more detail. It should flesh out the streams to be all full-length streams, not just certain mythological beings. And it will speed up how quickly we can get through them so that we can start to move on to some of the other cultural stuff that I want to do learning about on stream. Because remember, you guys are learning with me. I'm trying to learn about my new nation, and you guys are being dragged along for the ride, because if I don't do it on stream, it just won't happen. That's just how my life is. If it ain't on stream, it ain't happening. On that note, though, guys, I am apologizing for the fact that it is an incredibly short stream, even by my standards today. But I will make sure that the next Philippines mention comes back better, stronger, faster, harder, with much more stuff jam-packed in. I'll make sure that we do touch on, when we get across things that touch to Capre, Agta, and we come back to them as well. But hopefully this will help us be more streamlined with our mentioning of the Philippines in future. This week, no league stuff because we're doing this, but there will be gacha night. We've got some cozy gaming. I'm doing a demo. We've got Final Fantasy, of course. Got to keep the Final Fantasy going. Bright Sparks Hackathon is back on Saturday. We're going to be learning about the classification of living things. We're going to be learning, chat, learning. Remember the Bright Sparks streams? I usually aim for an hour. I might try and aim for 2, but those ones can be a little bit shorter. The others will be normal length streams. Again, little and often is all I can do, unfortunately, with my work schedule. I'm doing what I can for you guys. You wanted me to be back. I'm doing my best. Hashtag. Why are you never here, guys? Sad times. Alright, I'm going to head off and start planning for next Philippines mentioned. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And yeah, keep learning. Learn about the past, learn about the culture, learn about languages, learn about other people's cultures. You don't have to learn everyone's, but go out there and learn a few things. You will be surprised how much it changes your perspective on the world. See you all again tomorrow.